Captain Jake Morrison walked through the long metal hallways of Kepler Station with his boots making soft clicking sounds on the floor. Behind him, his German Shepherd Rex followed close, his brown and black fur clean and brushed for this important day. Rex's ears were up and alert, watching everything around them with bright brown eyes. Jake felt nervous. Today was the day humans would meet with 3 different alien species for the first time. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 6 months ago, and many aliens still thought humans were too young and simple to be in space with them. Jake wanted to prove them wrong. "Stay close, boy," Jake whispered to Rex. The dog looked up at him and wagged his tail once, as if he understood how important this meeting was. They reached the big meeting room where Dr. Lisa Campbell was already waiting. She was looking at her notes on a small tablet, her blonde hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. When she saw Jake and Rex coming, she smiled and knelt down to pet Rex behind the ears. "How are you feeling about today?" Lisa asked Jake as she stood up. "Ready as we can be," Jake said. "The other species have been in space for thousands of years. We need to show them we belong here too." Commander Ben Tucker came around the corner, carrying a briefcase full of papers and data files. His dark hair was cut short and neat and his uniform looked perfect. But Jake could see Ben was worried too. "The aliens are already here," Ben said quietly. "I saw them through the window. They look different from the pictures we studied." The 3 humans and Rex entered the meeting room together. The room was huge with a round table in the middle and big windows showing the stars outside. 3 groups of aliens sat at different parts of the table, each group very different from the others. The first group looked like giant lizards walking on 2 legs. Their skin was dark green and covered in small scales that caught the light. Their eyes were yellow and moved independently, like a chameleon. The leader wore a red cloth around his neck and had sharp white teeth. This was Ambassador Kethtar, of the Saurian people. The second group looked like huge insects. They were tall and thin with 4 arms each, and wings that made soft buzzing sounds. Their heads were large with big black eyes that reflected light like mirrors. They moved together in perfect timing, as if they shared the same thoughts. Their leader was called Hive Mind Zix. The third alien was the strangest of all. It looked like it was made of clear crystal that changed colors from blue to purple to green. It had no face that humans could recognize, but light moved through its body in patterns. This was Resonance Prime from the Crystalline Collective. Jake, Lisa, and Ben sat down at the table. Rex lay down next to Jake's chair, putting his head on his paws but keeping his eyes open and watching the aliens. "Welcome," Jake said in his best diplomatic voice. "We are honored to meet with you today." Ambassador Kethtar's yellow eyes both focused on Rex. "What is that creature doing here?" he asked. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "This is Rex," Jake explained. "He is my companion. We call them dogs on Earth." The Saurian's head tilted to one side. "You brought a primitive beast to an important meeting?" Hive Mind Zix's forearms moved in a pattern while making clicking sounds. "We have studied your species. You keep these animals in your homes. You feed them and care for them. But they provide no logical benefit. This behavior is puzzling." The crystal being, Resonance Prime, began to glow brighter. The patterns of light moving through its body got faster. Jake's translation device said this meant the alien was amused, like it was laughing. Dr. Lisa leaned forward in her chair. "Dogs are not just animals to us, they are our partners. We have lived together for over 15,000 years. They help us hunt, protect our homes, and provide emotional support." "Emotional support?" Kethtar repeated the words like they tasted bad. "You rely on lesser creatures for your feelings? This shows weakness." Rex lifted his head and looked at the Saurian. His ears went back slightly, but he made no sound. Jake reached down and gently touched Rex's head to calm him. "Hive Mind." Zix clicked its mandibles. "In our hive, all members serve the greater purpose. We do not waste resources on creatures that cannot contribute meaningfully to society. Your attachment to these beasts suggests your species lacks proper organization." Commander Ben's hands tightened into fists on the table, but he kept his voice calm. Our relationships with our companions have made us stronger, not weaker. They teach us about loyalty, trust, and unconditional love. Resonance Prime's colors shifted to what the translator said meant deep amusement. Love, it repeated. An emotion that clouds judgment and wastes energy. We have evolved beyond such primitive responses. Lisa tried again to explain. When humans and dogs work together, we can do things neither species could do alone. Dogs have senses we don't have. They can smell things we cannot smell and hear sounds we cannot hear. In return, we provide them with food, shelter, and care. So you admit you are incomplete without them, Kethtar said with satisfaction. Your species is flawed and must depend on animals to function properly. Jake felt his face getting hot, with anger, but he forced himself to stay calm. We choose to work together because it makes both species better. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. The three alien groups exchanged looks, or what Jake thought were looks. It was hard to tell, with such different faces. Perhaps, Hive Mind Zik said, this is why your species is still so young in space. You cannot focus on advancement when you are distracted by emotional attachments to simple creatures. Rex stood up and walked to Jake's side, sitting down and leaning against his leg. Jake could feel the warm weight of his dog and immediately felt calmer. Rex seemed to sense that Jake was upset and was offering comfort. Resonance Prime's light patterns got even brighter. See how the human's stress decreases when the animal touches him. He cannot control his own emotions without the creature's help. This proves our point about weakness. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. The aliens agreed to work together on a joint mission to explore some old ruins on a distant planet. But through the whole meeting, they kept making comments about how humans wasted time and energy on their pets. They acted like having dogs made humans less intelligent and less capable. When the meeting finally ended, Jake, Lisa, and Ben walked out together with Rex. None of them spoke until they were back in their private quarters. That could have gone better, Ben said, sitting down heavily in a chair. They don't understand, Lisa said. They see our bond with Rex as dependency, but they don't see how it makes us stronger. Jake knelt down and hugged Rex, burying his face in the dog's thick fur. Maybe on this mission we'll get a chance to show them what they're missing. Rex licked Jake's ear and wagged his tail, as if he agreed completely. 3 weeks after the first meeting, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the horizon's edge, looking at the planet below them. Kepler 442b was a strange world, with purple skies and 2 small moons. Ancient ruins covered most of the main continent, built by some civilization that had disappeared long ago. Scanners show the largest structure is about 10 miles from our landing site, Amy Rodriguez said from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, a young woman with short black hair and quick brown eyes. The energy readings are off the charts down there. Rex sat next to Jake's captain chair, his head tilted as he watched the planet on the main screen. His ears twitched like he could hear something the humans could not. The alien ships are requesting permission to land, Amy continued. Tell them they can follow us down, Jake said. Dr. Campbell, are you ready? Lisa looked up from her scientific equipment. She had packed everything she might need to study the ruins, including tools to measure energy, take samples, and record data. Ready as I'll ever be. The preliminary scans show the structures are made of some kind of metal we've never seen before. Commander Ben Tucker checked his weapon one more time. I still don't like going down there with them. They made it pretty clear they think we're primitive. Maybe this mission will change their minds, Jake said, but he did not sound convinced. The landing party took a small shuttle down to the planet's surface. Jake piloted the ship, while Ben sat in the co-pilot seat. Lisa and Amy sat in the back, with Rex lying on the floor between them. The dog seemed calm, but his eyes stayed alert. They landed in a flat area near the ruins. The alien ships landed nearby, each one looking very different from the human shuttle. The Saurian ship was long and green like a giant lizard. The Zephyrian ship looked like a metal hive with many small holes. The crystalline ship was clear like glass and seemed to glow from the inside. Jake opened the shuttle door and stepped out onto the alien world. The air was thin but breathable, and it tasted slightly sweet. Rex jumped down beside him and immediately started sniffing the ground, his tail wagging slowly. The aliens came out of their ships carrying advanced equipment that made the human tools look simple. Ambassador Kethatar had some kind of floating scanner that moved around him like a pet. Hive Mind Zix carried 4 different devices, one in each hand, all of them humming with power. Resonance Prime seemed to be scanning everything just by looking at it, its crystal body changing colors as it processed information. "Your equipment is quite basic," Kethatar observed, looking at Lisa's simple tools. "Are you certain you can contribute meaningfully to this expedition?" "We'll do our best," Lisa said politely, though Jake could see she was annoyed. The group walked toward the ruins together. The structures were massive, towering hundreds of feet into the purple sky. They were made of a dark metal that seemed to absorb light, and strange symbols covered every surface. Rex stayed close to Jake, occasionally stopping to sniff interesting spots on the ground. "Fascinating," Hive Mind Zix buzzed as it scanned the nearest building. "The metal contains elements not found in our periodic tables. The energy signatures suggest advanced technology." Resonance Prime's colors shifted to what Jake's translator said meant excitement. "The architectural patterns suggest a highly logical civilization. No wasted space or decorative elements. Very efficient. Unlike your species," Kethatar said, glancing at Jake, "which wastes resources on unnecessary creatures." Jake ignored the comment and focused on the ruins. As they got closer, he noticed something strange. The symbols on the walls seemed to move slightly when he looked at them directly, like they were alive. Rex suddenly stopped walking and sat down, his ears perked up and his head tilted. He was staring at the largest building ahead of them. "What is it, boy?" Jake asked, kneeling down next to his dog. "The animal senses something," Lisa said, checking her scanners. "But I'm not picking up anything unusual." "Primitive instincts," Kethatar said dismissively. "Animals react to things that are not actually dangerous. This is why logic is superior to emotion." They entered the first building through a large archway. Inside, the walls glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to come from the metal itself. The floor was smooth and reflected their images like a mirror. Strange machines lined the walls, all of them dark and silent. "Incredible," Lisa whispered, taking readings with her equipment. "The energy source is still active after thousands of years." As they walked deeper into the building, Hive Mind Zix noticed something interesting. "The structures seem to respond to our presence. Watch the wall patterns." The symbols on the walls were indeed changing, flowing like water into new shapes as the group passed by. But Jake noticed that the patterns changed differently when Rex walked near them. Where the aliens caused sharp, angular changes, Rex's presence made the symbols flow in smooth, gentle curves. "Your animal is affecting the technology," Resonance Prime observed. "How curious. Perhaps it carries some kind of electromagnetic field." "Dogs do have different electrical patterns in their brains," Lisa said. "Maybe the ancient technology is sensitive to biological energy." They explored several rooms, each one filled with strange machines and devices. The aliens' advanced scanners worked perfectly, identifying materials and energy patterns with ease. But Jake began to notice that their technology was also affecting the ruins in ways that seemed wrong. Where the alien scanners passed, some of the wall symbols flickered and died out. Rex, meanwhile, seemed to be having the opposite effect. The eye symbols grew brighter when he approached them, and some of the silent machines began to hum softly when he walked by. "This is illogical," Kethatar said, pointing one of his scanners at Rex. "The creature has no technology, yet it interacts with these systems better than our advanced equipment." "Maybe that's the point," Amy suggested. "Maybe the civilization did not rely only on technology." "Impossible," Hive Mind Zix clicked. "Advanced civilizations always choose logic over emotion. It is the natural path of evolution." They reached a large central chamber with a high ceiling covered in moving symbols. In the center of the room stood a tall pillar made of the same dark metal as the walls. As soon as they entered, the pillar began to glow. Rex walked up to the pillar and sat down next to it, his tail wagging slowly. The moment he got close, the entire room filled with soft, warm light. The symbols on the walls moved faster, creating beautiful patterns that seemed almost like art. "The animal is activating systems that our scanners cannot even detect," Resonance Prime said, its colors shifting rapidly. "This should not be possible." "Maybe the people who built this place understood something we don't," Jake said quietly. Kethtar made a sound like a laugh. "What could a primitive species possibly teach us? We have explored the galaxy for thousands of years while your kind was still discovering fire." But even as he spoke, Jake could see uncertainty in the alien's yellow eyes. The ruins were responding to Rex in ways that the advanced alien technology could not match. And deep in the building, something was waking up. Rex's ears went back, and he started to growl softly, staring at the dark passages that led deeper into the structure. Whatever was down there, it was not friendly. "I think we need to be careful," Jake said, putting his hand on Rex's head. "Something doesn't feel right." The aliens laughed at his concern, but they were about to learn that sometimes primitive instincts were better than advanced logic. Rex's growling got louder as the group moved deeper into the ruins. The dog's hackles were raised and his body was tense, ready to fight or run. Jake had never seen Rex act this way before, and it made him nervous. "Your animal is being disruptive," Kethtar complained, his floating scanner buzzing around his head. "Can you not control it?" "He's trying to warn us about something," Jake said firmly. "Dogs have senses we don't have. If Rex is worried, we should be worried too." Hive Mind Zix clicked its mandibles in what Jake's translator said was annoyance. "Primitive fear responses have no place in scientific exploration. We should focus on logic and data, not animal instincts." But as they walked down a long corridor lined with glowing symbols, Lisa's simple scanner started beeping rapidly. "I'm getting some strange readings," she said, looking at the small screen. "Energy levels are spiking all around us." The aliens checked their advanced equipment, but their scanners showed normal readings. Only the basic human technology was detecting the danger. "Your equipment must be malfunctioning," Resonance Prime said, its crystal body shifting to colors. That meant dismissal. "Our sensors are far more sophisticated and show no threats." Amy Rodriguez was walking near the back of the group, recording everything with her communication device. "Actually," she said quietly, "I'm picking up some weird signals too, like something big is waking up." They entered a huge chamber that was much larger than the others. The ceiling was so high that their lights could not reach it, and the walls stretched away into darkness. In the center of the room stood a massive machine that looked like a sleeping giant made of the same dark metal as the buildings. "Incredible," Lisa whispered, taking readings as fast as she could. "This thing is enormous. It must be some kind of central processing unit." Kethtar aimed his floating scanner at the machine. The device flew around the structure, beeping and flashing as it collected data. "The technology is far beyond anything we have seen," he admitted. "Even our most advanced civilizations could not build something like this." Hive Mind Zix approached the machine with all 4 of its devices active. "We must learn how it works. This knowledge could advance our species by thousands of years." But as the alien's scanners touched the machine, something went wrong. The dark metal began to glow red, and a deep humming sound filled the chamber. The symbols on the walls started moving faster, and the patterns became sharp and angry-looking. Rex barked once, a sharp warning sound, and backed away from the machine. His instincts were telling him to run, but he stayed close to Jake. "The energy readings are going crazy," Lisa said, her voice getting higher with worry. "I think we woke something up." Suddenly, the machine opened up like a flower made of metal. Inside was a hollow space filled with swirling energy, and from that energy came creatures that looked like giant metal spiders. They had 8 legs each, glowing red eyes and sharp claws that sparked with electricity. "Defense systems," Amy said, backing toward the entrance. The machine was protecting this place. The mechanical spiders moved fast, faster than anything. That big should be able to move. They spread out across the chamber, blocking the exits and surrounding the group. Their red eyes focused on the aliens' advanced scanners, and they made clicking sounds like they were talking to each other. "Our weapons," Kethtar said, pulling out a device that looked like a crystal rod. "We must defend ourselves." The aliens all had weapons that were far more advanced than anything humans carried. Kethtar's crystal rod fired beams of pure energy. Hivemind Zix had 4 different weapons, each one making different sounds as it charged up. Resonance Prime's entire body became a weapon, shooting bolts of light from its crystal structure. But when they fired at the mechanical spiders, something strange happened. The spiders seemed to learn from each attack. The first energy beam hit one spider and knocked it down, but when the second beam hit another spider, it barely slowed down. By the third attack, the spiders were completely protected against the alien weapons. "They're adapting," Ben shouted, pulling out his simple human pistol. "They learn how to defend against each attack." The mechanical spiders started moving toward the group, their metal claws scraping against the floor. One of them shot a net of electricity at Hivemind Zix, wrapping around the insect-like alien and making it fall to the ground, buzzing in pain. "We need to get out of here," Jake said, looking around for another exit. But the spiders had blocked all the obvious ways out. That was when Rex did something amazing. The dog ran toward a wall that looked solid, but instead of hitting it, he passed right through it like it was made of air. A few seconds later, he stuck his head back through the wall and barked at Jake. "There's a hidden passage," Lisa said, understanding immediately. Rex found a way out. How did the animal detect what our scanners could not? Resonance Prime asked, its colors shifting to confusion and fear. "Because he's not just using technology," Jake said, running toward the hidden passage. "He's using his nose, his ears, and his instincts." The group followed Rex through the hidden passage, but they got separated in the maze of corridors beyond. The mechanical spiders followed them, but they seemed confused by the hidden passages. Their sensors were designed to track advanced technology, not simple biological signatures. Lisa and Amy ended up in a small room when part of the ceiling collapsed behind them, cutting them off from the others. They could hear the mechanical spiders searching for them, their metal feet clicking on the floor outside. "Our communicators aren't working," Amy said, tapping her device. "Something in these walls is blocking our signals." Meanwhile, the alien delegates found themselves in a different part of the ruins, cornered by 3 of the mechanical spiders. Their advanced shields were failing as the creatures adapted to their technology. Kethtar's energy weapon was no longer working at all, and Hivemind Zix was injured from the electrical net. "We are trapped," Resonance Prime said, its light getting dimmer as its energy ran low. "Our technology is useless against these ancient defenses." In another part of the maze, Ben found himself alone and lost. His simple compass was not working, and he could not tell which way led back to the surface. The corridors all looked the same, and he could hear the mechanical spiders getting closer. But Rex was not lost. The dog's nose could follow the scent, trail of each member of the group, even through the confusing passages. He led Jake through the maze, stopping at each turn to sniff the air and choose the right direction. "Good boy," Jake whispered as Rex led him toward the sound of Amy's voice. "Your nose is better than any scanner they have." The ancient civilization that built these ruins had designed them to respond to emotional connections, not just technological advancement. The mechanical spiders were programmed to fight against invasive technology, but they seemed less interested in simple biological life forms that moved with purpose and loyalty. Rex's bond with Jake, and his desire to protect and reunite his pack, was something the ancient defenses recognized as non-threatening. The dog was not trying to steal or conquer. He was simply trying to keep his family safe. As Jake and Rex worked together to rescue the others, the aliens began to realize that their advanced technology was not always the best solution. Sometimes, the simple connection between 2 living beings was more powerful than any machine. The mechanical spiders continued to hunt through the ruins, but they were about to face something they had never encountered before. They were about to threaten a human's companion, and that would awaken something in humanity that no amount of advanced technology could match. Jake followed Rex through the dark passages, trusting his dog's nose to lead them to their friends. The mechanical spiders were still hunting, but they seemed confused by the hidden routes Rex had found. Their metal feet clicked on stone floors. In other corridors, always one step behind. Rex stopped at a wall and whined softly. Jake put his ear to the stone and heard Amy's voice on the other side. "Amy. Lisa. Can you hear me?" Jake called out. "Jake," Amy's voice came back, muffled but clear. "We're trapped in here." Part of the ceiling fell down and blocked the door. Jake ran his hands along the wall, looking for another hidden passage, but this wall was solid stone. Rex sniffed around the edges and found loose rocks near the bottom. Together, Jake and Rex started moving the smaller stones away, trying to make a hole big enough for the women to crawl through. Meanwhile, in another part of the ruins, the 3 alien delegates were in serious trouble. 2 mechanical spiders had cornered them in a dead-end corridor. Kethtar's weapons had stopped working completely. Hive Mind Zix was badly hurt and could barely stand. Resonance Prime was flickering like a dying light bulb. "Our shields are failing," Kethtar said, his voice shaking with fear. "These creatures have adapted to everything we have." The mechanical spiders moved closer, their red eyes glowing brighter. Their claws sparked with electricity, ready to finish off the aliens. But then they heard something that made them pause. Rex was barking. The sound echoed through the stone corridors, and the mechanical spiders turned their heads to listen. Their programming told them to hunt advanced technology, but the sound of the dog seemed to confuse them. Ben Tucker heard the barking too. He had been lost in the maze for 20 minutes, but Rex's bark gave him direction. He followed the sound, through the twisting passages, his simple human pistol ready in his hand. Jake had made the hole in the wall big enough for Amy to squeeze through. She came out covered in dust, followed by Lisa, who was carrying her damaged scanner. "Thank goodness for Rex," Lisa said, patting the dog's head. "How did he know we were in there?" "He could smell you through the stone," Jake explained. "Dogs have noses 50 times better than ours." Amy checked her communication device. "I'm getting some signals now. Ben is about 200 yards that way, and the aliens are in trouble. Their life signs are getting weak." Jake looked down at Rex. "Can you find them, boy?" Rex tilted his head, sniffing the air carefully. Then he started walking down a passage that led deeper into the ruins. The group followed him, moving as quietly as they could. They found Ben first. He was hiding behind a broken piece of machinery while a mechanical spider searched for him nearby. Rex ran to Ben and licked his face, happy to see another member of his pack safe. "Shh," Jake whispered to Rex. "We need to be quiet." But it was too late. The mechanical spider heard them and turned around, its red eyes focusing on the group. It started moving toward them, but something strange happened. When the spider saw Rex, it slowed down. Its eyes changed from red to yellow, and it made different sounds like it was confused. "It's not attacking," Lisa whispered. "It's like it doesn't see Rex as a threat." The spider looked at the humans and the dog for a long moment, then turned and walked away. It was looking for dangerous technology, not living creatures who moved with loyalty and love. "The ancient people who built this place," Lisa said quietly. "Maybe they had companions too. Maybe they programmed their defenses to recognize the difference between invaders and friends." They followed Rex through more passages until they found the corridor where the aliens were trapped. The 2 mechanical spiders had the 3 delegates backed against a wall. Kethtar was on his knees, his weapon broken. Hive Mind Zix was lying on the ground, barely moving. Resonance Prime was so dim that Jake could barely see it. "We have to help them," Jake said, even though the aliens had been rude to him and Rex. "How?" Ben asked. "Those spiders will kill anything that threatens them." That was when Kethtar made his biggest mistake. He saw Jake and the others approaching, and he saw Rex walking calmly beside them. The Saurian's fear and anger took control of his mind. "This is your fault," Kethtar shouted at Jake. "You brought that useless animal here, and it has been nothing but trouble. These creatures are hunting us because your primitive pet disturbed their systems." Kethtar pulled out a small backup weapon that he had hidden in his clothing. It was a plasma pistol, designed to kill with one shot. His yellow eyes were wild with panic and fury. "I will eliminate the problem," Kethtar said, pointing the weapon directly at Rex. Once the animal is gone, maybe these machines will leave us alone. The plasma pistol charged up with a high whining sound. Rex sat down calmly, looking at the saurian with gentle brown eyes, not understanding that he was about to die. But in that moment, everything changed. Jake's face went completely still. His eyes became cold and hard like pieces of ice. His voice dropped to a whisper that was somehow more frightening than any shout. "Lower your weapon. Now." Commander Ben Tucker's hand moved to his sidearm with smooth, practiced speed. His entire body language changed from diplomatic to deadly in 1 second. The friendly officer was gone, replaced by something much more dangerous. Dr. Lisa Campbell stopped being a scientist and became something primal. Her blue eyes focused on Kethtar, like a predator watching prey. Her hands moved to equipment on her belt that could be used as weapons. Amy Rodriguez's fingers flew over her communication device, but not to call for help. She was activating emergency protocols, sending signals to their ship above. Her voice was calm but full of ice. "Horizon's Edge, this is Rodriguez. We have a hostile situation. Prepare for immediate extraction and defensive measures." The three humans moved without talking to each other, but their actions were perfectly coordinated. They formed a protective circle around Rex, their movements smooth and dangerous. They looked like wolves protecting their pack. Kethtar suddenly realized he had crossed a line that should never be crossed. The humans' diplomatic masks had fallen away, showing something underneath that their psychological files had never mentioned. These were not just explorers or scientists. These were predators who had chosen to be civilized, but who could become savage in an instant if their pack was threatened. The mechanical spiders stopped moving. Their sensors detected the change in the humans' biological signatures: increased heart rate, heightened awareness, the chemical scent of adrenaline, and protective rage. Their programming recognized these as the signs of creatures defending their young or their mates. Hive Mind Zix raised its head weakly and saw something that shocked it. The humans were not individuals anymore. They were a single unit, working together with perfect coordination, just like a hive mind but driven by emotion instead of logic. Resonance Prime's crystal body flickered with new light as it processed what it was seeing. These humans were accessing something that no technology could replicate, a bond forged over thousands of years of evolution, stronger than any programming. "Lower your weapon," Jake repeated. And this time his voice carried a promise of violence that made Kethtar's hands shake. The Saurian looked into Jake's eyes and saw his own death if he pulled that trigger. But more than that, he saw something that his species had never experienced: the willingness to die protecting someone you loved, and the strength that came from knowing others would do the same for you. Rex sat quietly in the center of the protective circle, his tail wagging slightly. He trusted his humans completely, knowing they would never let anything hurt him. And that trust, that simple faith, was about to teach the galaxy a lesson about the true meaning of strength. Kethtar's hand shook as he held the plasma weapon pointed at Rex. The Saurian's yellow eyes darted between the dog and the three humans who stood ready to kill him if he pulled the trigger. Sweat ran down his scaly green skin as he realized he had made a terrible mistake. I was just trying to solve the problem," Kethtar said, his voice cracking with fear. "The animal brought us bad luck." "Rex didn't bring us bad luck," Jake said in that cold, quiet voice. "He's been trying to keep us safe since we got here, and you just threatened to murder him." The plasma weapon's whining sound got louder as it finished charging. One pull of the trigger would kill Rex instantly, but Kethtar found he could not move his finger. The look in Jake's eyes promised that if Rex died, Kethtar would follow him into death within seconds. "Please," Resonance Prime said weakly, its crystal body barely glowing. "Lower the weapon. We need to work together to escape." Kethtar looked around at the mechanical spiders, who had stopped attacking and were now just watching. Their red eyes had turned yellow and they made soft clicking sounds like they were talking to each other. "They're not attacking anymore," Lisa said, never taking her eyes off Kethtar. "Look at them. They're just observing." It was true. The mechanical spiders had backed away from everyone. They seemed more interested in watching what would happen than in fighting. Their programming was trying to understand what it was seeing. Slowly, carefully, Kethtar lowered his weapon. The moment the plasma pistol pointed at the floor instead of at Rex, the humans relaxed slightly. But Jake kept his hand near his own weapon, ready to draw it in an instant. Rex stood up and walked toward Kethtar. The Saurian flinched, expecting the dog to attack him. But instead, Rex sat down next to Kethtar and looked up at him with gentle brown eyes. The dog's tail wagged once slowly. "He forgives you," Jake said, his voice still cold but no longer deadly. "Even after you tried to kill him, he forgives you. That's what you don't understand about dogs. They don't hold grudges. They just love." Kethtar stared down at Rex in amazement. "But I pointed a weapon at him. Why is he not afraid of me?" "Because that's who he is," Amy said, finally lowering her communication device. "Dogs judge people by their actions in the present, not their mistakes in the past." Hive Mind Zix struggled to sit up, its forearms shaking with the effort. "This behavior is illogical. The animal should see you as a threat. Logic isn't everything," Ben said, holstering his weapon but staying alert. "Sometimes forgiveness is stronger than fear." Dr. Lisa knelt down next to Rex and gently petted his head. "For thousands of years, humans and dogs have been learning from each other. We taught them to trust us and they taught us about loyalty. We taught them to work with us and they taught us about unconditional love." The mechanical spiders moved closer, but not to attack. They seemed curious about Rex and the way he interacted with both humans and aliens. Their yellow eyes focused on the dog as he moved between Kethtar and Jake, bringing the two species together. "The ancient people who built this place," Lisa continued, "I think they had companions too. Look at how these machines respond to Rex. They're not seeing him as an invader. They're seeing him as something familiar." Resonance Prime's crystal body began to glow brighter. "You mean this civilization also had emotional bonds with other species?" "More than that," Jake said, kneeling down to scratch Rex behind the ears. "I think they built this whole place to test visitors, to see if they came here to steal and conquer, or if they came as friends." Amy checked her scanner and gasped. "The energy readings have completely changed. The hostile signatures are gone. The ruins are welcoming us now." It was true. The symbols on the walls had changed from angry red patterns to soft blue and green spirals. The mechanical spider's eyes were now blue instead of yellow, and they made gentle humming sounds. The entire atmosphere of the ruins felt different, like a house where the owners had decided to trust their guests. Ben helped Hive Mind Zix to its feet. "The defense systems were testing us. When Kethtar threatened Rex, they were watching to see how we would respond. And when Rex forgave him," Lisa added, "they saw that we're not conquerors. We're a family." One of the mechanical spiders approached. Rex slowly. The dog tilted his head and wagged his tail. The spider reached out with one metal leg and gently touched Rex's nose. Both of them seemed to understand each other perfectly. "Incredible," Kethtar whispered, putting his weapon away. "I have studied thousands of species across the galaxy, but I have never seen anything like this." The spider led the group deeper into the ruins, but now the corridors were lit with warm, welcoming light. They found a great library filled with crystals that contained the knowledge of the ancient civilization. The crystals responded to touch, sharing images and information. Jake touched one crystal and saw visions of the ancient people. They looked different from humans, but they also had companions, creatures that were not quite like dogs but filled the same role. Partners who had chosen to evolve together, to trust each other, to love without conditions. "They were like us," Jake said in wonder. "They understood that strength comes from connection, not domination." Hive Mind Zix touched another crystal and saw images of the ancient civilization's greatest achievements. Cities built through cooperation between different species. Technologies powered by emotional harmony instead of just raw energy. art created through the bond between companions. We were wrong. Zix buzzed quietly. We thought advancement meant leaving emotion behind. But these people were more advanced than any of us, and they did it through love. Resonance Prime examined a crystal that showed the fall of the ancient civilization. They were destroyed by invaders who did not understand their ways, conquerors who saw their bonds as weakness and tried to exploit them. That's why they built these defenses, Amy realized, to keep their knowledge safe until someone worthy found it, someone who understood the value of loyalty and trust. The group spent hours in the library, learning from the crystals. The ancient people had built technologies that seemed impossible, machines that responded to feelings, energy sources powered by friendship, weapons that could not be used to harm innocent beings. When they finally returned to their ships, everything had changed. The aliens no longer looked at Rex as a useless animal. They saw him as a teacher, a bridge between species, a reminder of what they had lost in their pursuit of pure logic. Kethtar knelt down next to Rex before boarding his ship. "I am sorry," he said simply. "I did not understand, but I am learning." Rex licked the Saurian's scaly hand and wagged his tail. Forgiveness given, friendship offered, the past forgotten. Back at Kepler Station, the joint mission was declared a huge success. But the real victory was not the ancient technology they had discovered. It was the understanding they had gained about the power of emotional bonds. The Galactic Council voted to make Rex an official member of the diplomatic corps. Other species began studying human-animal relationships, trying to understand how two different types of beings could become stronger together. Jake stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, looking out at the stars with Rex beside him. The dog's head rested on Jake's leg, warm and comforting. "What do you think, boy?" Jake asked quietly. "Ready for our next adventure?" Rex wagged his tail and looked up at his human with eyes full of trust and love. Together they were ready for anything the galaxy could throw at them. And now, the galaxy was beginning to understand why that partnership made them both stronger than they could ever be alone. The universe was a big, dangerous place, but it was also full of possibilities for friendship, for growth, and for the kind of love that could bridge the gap between any two species willing to open their hearts.